The Toyota Camry TRD. This was supposed to be the hot model of the Toyota Camry. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the Toyota Camry TRD to find out if this car is worthy of the name TRD or not. And there was a big emphasis on the word supposed to be the hot model of the Toyota Camry. Let's talk about this and more right after this. Under the hood of the Toyota TRD Camry is a 2GR FKS 3.5 liter V6. Very familiar engine. We have had this engine for some time now in multiple models, including this whole generation of Toyota Camry in the V6 models, in the XLE and the XSE. When you look under the hood of the TRD Camry, you will notice one thing. If I didn't tell you this was a TRD Camry, you wouldn't be able to tell just by looking under the hood, because things are exactly the same as they are in a non-TRD Camry. Nothing have changed internally, externally, anywhere. This is the exact same drivetrain as it sits in other V6 Camry models. The transmission is an 8-speed. Everything is laid out exactly the same, nice and simple. On this engine, I did do a full deep dive to tell you all about its technology. Some of its highlights is the D4S system, which has port and direct injection. Very good engine. Very reliable. The transmission is also very good. When this generation first came out in 2018, there were some issues with the 8-speed, but those are long gone. And in the 2022 model, things are all resolved and everything is very good with this 8-speed transmission. When you move past the engine bay in the TRD Camry is when you start seeing some mechanical differences, starting with the suspension. This is a TRD tuned shocks and springs. The car sits lower. It's 0.6 inches lower than the standard V6 Camry, the XLE and the XSE. The brakes are bigger, and when I say bigger, I mean they are from a Highlander. 2-piston caliper, bigger rotors, exactly the same as Highlander, and just for fun, they are painted red to distinguish them from a standard Highlander. In addition to these two things, there are more chassis supports underneath to stiffen up the chassis a little bit, and the exhaust is also different on the TRD Camry. It does have a TRD tuned exhaust, catback exhaust, which does actually sound pretty nice. Let's take a listen. Does sound pretty good for a Camry, nothing over the top, but it is a nice tone that it makes. But unfortunately, other than that, everything is exactly the same. Very reliable, very well made, but not exclusive or different. And this theme carries on, unfortunately, in the Camry TRD, as you will see when we do the exterior review. Before we start talking about the Camry TRD exterior, I want to point out two things. First, I work on these cars every single day. I am a Toyota technician at a Toyota dealership. I am extremely familiar with these cars inside and out, and was there when this whole generation of Camry came out. The second thing is, I own a 2022 Toyota Camry XSE. So this review will not just be a review of another Toyota model. This will have a little bit of a personal touch of, unfortunately, disappointment. We start with the exterior of the TRD Camry, which is the side skirts and the aero kit that goes in the front, and this diffuser in the back and all this goodness. The first thing that this reminds me of is scaffolding. That's what I call it. It is an aero kit designed to help with aerodynamics. But when you look closer at it, it is actually a standard XSE model side skirt bumper, back bumper, with this stuff just bolted onto it. The 19-inch TRD wheels are actually very nice, and they have a really nice design. They're lightweight, and they look really cool. But the problem is, this is actually an add-on accessory that you can add to any SE or XSE model. So a little bit not exclusive to the TRD model. And then we look at the back of the TRD Camry, where we have a ginormous spoiler, which I personally don't like taste-wise. I would have much rather they stick with the XSE more subtle, more sophisticated looking lip spoiler, but that's what they went with. And some say that this is for actual aerodynamics. Hard to think that that is actually the case when the speed limit of this car is electronically limited to 134 miles an hour, and below those speeds, downforce is not exactly a major factor. But beside the point, you have a giant spoiler here. You also have the giant diffuser, which equally doesn't really do much in lower speeds, but it's there, looks okay. Big exhaust, there are stainless steel tips. That actually I do like. They do look nice. At least it's better than the two exhaust tips on the XSE trim that one of them is actually fake. What are you gonna do? These are not fake, they're both functional, and it does sound pretty good. Then there is the black roof, which is actually an option with certain colors. There's very few colors in the TRD Camry. This one is a Calvary Blue, which is every year they come out with a specific exclusive color that is not available in any other terms, only on the TRD model. The Calvary Blue model doesn't look very good on pictures, but actually in person it does look nice. We've seen this color again in other models like the Tacoma TRD Pro, but now it is in the Camry TRD. And the Camry TRD does not have an option. You can't even get it as an option for a sunroof, moonroof, panoramic sunroof, nothing. It's not even available as an option. And that theme of options not being available carries on elsewhere in the Camry TRD, as you'll find out in the interior review. Welcome to the interior of the Camry TRD, which is on a severe diet. When this TRD Camry first was announced, it was coming out, one statement came out was, this is the cheapest V6 model Camry you can buy. And 5 seconds sitting in this interior, you realize how that was made to be true. I mean, there are so many options that are missing here. It almost makes this feel like this is the base model Camry. For example, there is no heated or cooled seats, not even as an option to get. And things progressively get worse from there. There is no steering wheel heater. There is no fancy radio. It's a tiny little screen. If you look in the gauge cluster, there is the tiniest little screen. There's no 7-inch beautiful screen like you get in the XLE and XSE. And the seats are not even full leather. They have basically Camry SE seats with a red line right here. And of course, in case you forget that you are in the stripped down version of the Camry, TRD is printed on the headrest. Not even on the seat itself, on the headrest only, or it's easily just swap it out and put a different headrest. And of course, we have to talk about the TRD badging, which is excessive. It is over the top. The gauges are red because this is the hot version of the Camry. But then when you start the car, there is the TRD logo that shows up. Very nice. Actually, it's done really well. But that's the first logo that you see. Then you want to shift your car into drive. You are greeted by the engraved TRD lettering on the shifter. Also, an additional option or accessory that you can get for any other model. Then the seats say TRD. Then the floor mats say TRD. And the trunk mats, because just in case you forget, you're not in a normal Camry, you are in the special TRD Camry. I just wish they would have done more attention to the actual things that matter than the badging, which most of it you can actually get as optional accessories in any of the other models. The floor mats, the shifter, all of that you can get in your nicely equipped XSE or XLE Camry. And when we get past the things that are listed as not available in the TRD Camry, the interior lights, even that went on a diet. You only have one yellow interior light right here. None of these light up. You can't make them light up like the XSE model that I actually own, and it's very nice to see LED lighting. No, you only have this. And you don't even have a auto dimming rear view mirror. Nothing, just a LED Camry rear view mirror with a clicker. I mean, this whole interior is really base model trim. You're paying over $30,000 for this car, depending on when you're looking at this video on the MSRPs. it just feels like a base model. There is nothing. The radio feels like it doesn't fit in the bezel because this is the base radio. There is these giant open empty lines in the gauge, which where would the big screen be? You just feel there was a better version of this, but I have the lesser version because I am in the TRD Camry. And things in the back seat are even worse. If you thought the missing options in the front were bad, this gets worse. There's not even a armrest here. Nothing. The seats don't fold down. This is a one-piece back seat. There's no vents here. The vents I can understand. Maybe they wanted to save on weight. But the foldable back seat, now you're taking away from the function of the car as a daily car. But one thing is not missing. The red seat belts. Of course, because this is more important than the armrest, more important than all the options. What's going on here? And it was not new in the car world that the hot version of cars will have actually less options to save weight and to make this car as fast as possible. And that would be okay. But the problem is, at least according to the published numbers, this is only 10 pounds lighter than the standard XSE Camry with a V6. It absolutely makes no sense. I would have rather have overweight and all these features, basic creature comforts, than the weight savings of 10 pounds. Let's talk about some things that I actually like about the Camry TRD. First, the price is actually true. This is less than any other Camry V6 models. And just having a V6 Camry model is an astonishing thing. Most cars in this segment are dropping the V6 for a little tiny 4-cylinder with a giant turbo just to make it go fast. This is no compromise V6, 300 horsepower, a beautiful V6, super smooth, and it's not labor to deliver these fine 300 horses. The other thing that is nice about the TRD is it does drive and handle nicer than the XSE. However, because this is an unbiased review, I have to say two things. First, in order to get the cheapest V6 Camry, you do have to compromise a lot. All these options that are gone. So you want to think about that before you just jump on the cheapest V6 Camry. The second thing is the handling and everything else. And then the handling. It does handle better than the XSE Camry, but not significantly better. I drive an XSE Camry and I drove this, and I compared the two. This is definitely better. It's lower to the ground, more stable, feels more fun to drive. But the XSE Camry is also fun to drive on a daily basis. It's nothing exhilarating or thrilling, but for a daily driver, comparing it to a Camry from 10 years ago, it drives much better. It's a lot smoother thanks to the TNGA. It has more power. It just feels like a nicer driver car for a daily driver for a Toyota Camry. But again, we go back to the same thing. In order to get this slightly better handling, you're sacrificing way too much in the sense of features and convenience features that, in my opinion, it kind of becomes almost a deal breaker. So what is the final verdict on the Camry TRD? Folks, when the Camry TRD was announced, I was super excited. We were finally gonna get a proper halo version of the Camry, a model that I truly love and I have owned many generations of. Just like the trucks got the TRD Pro lineup, which was the serious model. Unfortunately, equally as excited as I was equally disappointed because the Camry TRD falls so short of being that halo model of the Camry. It just feels like this is the demonstration of the TRD accessory, bolt-on accessory catalog. There are so many things that are shared with other models, and some of it is lesser than other models, especially in the inside and the options. And there is not really something that is a one-off. Yes, perhaps you can say the exhaust and the suspension, but that could have easily been a bolt-on accessory that is available for other models. Under the hood, nothing changed. Everything is exactly the same. They went a little too conservative with this car. I know this for a fact. Toyota can do a lot better with the TRD Camry, and I wish they would do that in future generations of the Camry when they redesign it and they come up with a TRD version, that they do better, not a bunch of bolt-ons, something serious, and something that they have done in the past. If we go over to the beautiful land down under, in Australia, back in mid-2000s, came out with a TRD Orion, which is essentially a Camry TRD. That was a serious car. It had a big supercharger. It had a beautiful interior. It was truly the halo car. But not this one. You lose too much to get the cheapest V6. All these options are gone. Makes the XSE V6 Camry a much better choice than this one, unfortunately. This generation of Camry is actually a very good one, in my opinion. They drive really nice, they're super refined, they have a lot of options, and they keep the true, proper V6, which is now starting to disappear from this segment. One thing I will say about the Camry TRD, because nothing really changed under the hood. This is a super reliable car, of course. If the price is appealing to you and you don't really care for the missing options inside, although some of them are kind of major, this is a very good car to own. But I have to say a few things, and now we move over to the service and Toyota technician side of me. The scaffolding or the aero package. I have not seen a car more damaged than the TRD Camry. I mean, it doesn't take much to scrape them and damage them. The Camry, the XSE Camry, already is a much lower car than previous generation Camrys. And with the added aero kit, it is even lower. It is extremely difficult to lift and service. So DIY mechanics, be aware that this is very difficult to lift. The other thing is, which is actually a positive on the TRD wheels, which by the way you could get in other models as well. These wheels seem to hold up to potholes and damage a lot better than the standard XSE wheels, which are notorious to get damaged or bent when you hit potholes. And folks, before we wrap up the video, I will say this final thought. Unfortunately, the Camry TRD does not live up to the hype of the name TRD. The trucks, the TRD Pro lineup, brilliant. This, not so much. I feel like this was not thought out well as a halo car, and almost becomes like an economical model, not really the halo car. And I wish Toyota would consider changing that philosophy in the future. As we go into the next generation, they will come up with a proper, no compromise halo model that is worthy of the name TRD. I hope this video was helpful and informative. I hope you learned something new. If you like it, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some of my other videos. And until the next video, folks, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and you have yourself a wonderful day.